All right, hello and welcome to our Estate Professionals Spotlight and Q&A series. My name is Nordis Forcade-Martin. I am the founder and CEO of Florida Probate Partners, a real estate team that specializes in working with probate attorneys, professional guardians, and trust officers in helping them sell the real estate assets involved in their cases. During this series, we delve into the intricacies of probate and estate planning, and we do this with the goal of educating our community by showcasing the professionals who are problem solvers in this arena. As serious as this topic is, we like to bring light to these conversations, so do expect to have some fun. Welcome to our show. All right, today we have the pleasure of having Martha L. Mendez, partner at Feinstein Mendez, PA. Martha, welcome to our show. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And by the way, you have my mom's name. I forgot to mention that earlier. So I love it. All right, so let's get started. We're going to dive right into it. So Martha, what documents or process is necessary for a sale if someone has lost capacity?
So it really depends if they've already established like having a durable power of attorney. If they have that, then we don't really have to go to court to establish any legal proceeding. So generally, the one thing is if the person has lost capacity that I would ask for is for them to provide me with a copy of the durable power of attorney for me to review, make sure they have the authority to do it, and then we go from there. If they don't have a durable power of attorney, then it's a completely different problem. Not a problem, but you know, it takes a little bit more work that we have to address to be able to get them to sell the property.
Got it. What happens if the parties need to sell real property, but the owner is incapacitated?
So that's what I was just mentioning, right? The challenge that comes along with it. If they've lost capacity, and you know, and just because, let me mention, lost capacity doesn't mean they have dementia. You know, I deal with people all the time that they have dementia, but they still have capacity. They have, you know, they have moments of lucidity where they're able to understand what they're signing, and so they can still sign. But if they don't have that and they've completely lost capacity and they didn't do a durable power of attorney ahead of time, then the only option from there is to go to court and establish a guardianship. And so I'm sure you've heard, you know, of the process, but essentially it's a two-step process. The first thing is they need to be, we need to file a petition to determine capacity. And then once the court, with the help of 3 doctors and the process goes along, the court will determine whether or not they have capacity. If the court determines they do not have capacity, then we do the petition for guardianship. And then ultimately the guardian, after having petitioned the court to allow the sale, they're able to sell the property. So it's a much longer process, which is why I'm always trying to advocate and inform people that it's so important to have a durable power of attorney, right? Because a guardianship is a much longer process and more costly, and you have to have an attorney, and so it just becomes more of a headache.
One of the main reasons, again, why we do this is because we want to inform and educate the community that there are many ways they can protect themselves, because you never know what can happen. And we get that a lot of people don't know. They think that estate planning is this big, robust thing, and they don't realize that there's simpler steps. If they feel more comfortable or if they can afford a more robust plan, they can do certain things that will at least help them be protected, so that a court doesn't have to decide, right, if they're incapacitated. So
exactly,
one of the questions that comes up a lot for us is, and I'm sure you see this come across your desk, can you sell a property during a probate process?
Yeah, absolutely, you can. It can either be done if the home is determined to be homestead, and then you don't need another order. And if you're not at that point yet and it needs to be sold, then you file a petition to allow for the sale of the property during the probate. And so you can do it one of 2 ways. It's definitely possible.
Got it.
But like you mentioned, Nordis, there's so many ways that people can avoid having to go through either probate or guardianship. And, you know, a lot of times they don't have the money. And so we talk about the different options. You know, you don't have to have just a trust. You know, there's other smaller steps that you can take to be able to avoid the process and the headache for your beneficiaries or the people that are going to have to file the guardianship for you.
Right. Yeah. So again, that's where a professional like you comes in and is able to go over those options with with the client and answer questions as to, okay, what steps can we take so that you feel protected and you know that you're not putting a burden in addition to the emotional burden that they're going to face whenever, God forbid, something happens. Yeah, absolutely. So does having a will or a trust make the sale process or administration process more efficient?
Yes, it does. Specifically, what I like to tell people is sometimes, the situation is not to do a trust, right? Either because of the person's personal situation or their financial situation. So I tell them, a will is good. Having nothing is the worst. Having a will is good, and having a will plus something, whether that's, maybe a ladybird deed or something else that will allow the transfer of the property upon the person's passing, to avoid probate, right? So that's one of the goals, is to try to avoid probate.
Right.
And then having a trust is great, right? Because then you account for a lot of variables. So I say, bad, good, and best, I guess you can
Right.
say. So, with a trust, you don't have to go to probate court. With a will, if you've only done a will, then you have to go to probate court. But, it's better than not having one in most situations. And especially, I find that, we live in a day and age where there's a lot of blended families. I have a blended family, and so if you have a will, you account for how you want to dispose of your assets upon your passing. Especially when you have a blended family, you can account for that a little bit better.
Right. And to clarify and remind everyone, because we've covered it in other videos that we've done, that having a will is amazing, it's great, and it does not prevent you from facing probate if you don't have the other documents that you need. You don't have your ducks in a row. Will is not sufficient.
Right. I always say, I'm like, a will plus something. What the something is, it depends on the situation. Like a will plus a ladybird, a will, pour over will with a trust. It's always plus something.
Right. Awesome. Well, is there any other important question that you would like to cover that you feel like people should be asking before we get into the fun part of the interview?
I think the most important thing is that people shouldn't be afraid to ask, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so there's, you go to Google and you find information, and I love Google because I Google a lot, myself, but you don't know what to ask if you don't know, so it's always best to reach out to somebody and really get some guidance, and never think, well, I'm too young, I don't need that. Estate planning is for everybody. It's for every age, young or old, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, it accounts for so many things, and it alleviates your family members from having to have the headache. I mean, it's still going to be a headache. They're still going to be very sad, but at least you've taken the steps necessary to avoid it. Something else that people always tell me, I don't have enough money to do an estate plan. It doesn't, the amount of assets that you have, it doesn't matter, because it's not just for right now. It's for right now plus the future, so I always say, if the concern is, I don't have enough, or I'm too young, or something of that nature, at least get information and become aware of what could happen.
Right. And to just piggyback on that, not only are they providing peace of mind to their loved ones, if God forbid something were to happen to them, but they're providing peace of mind for themselves, because they know that if something were to happen, they've been able to they took care of the things that would make it easier for their family. So
exactly.
It's peace of mind for them too now.
Right, for sure. Definitely. So that's pretty much what I say. It's always a good time to get some, guidance on the subject, and not think that, it's not for you. It's really for everybody at every age.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much for all of that great information, Martha. We're going to get into the fun part, the lightning round, where Martha doesn't know what questions I'm going to ask her, but we are going to get to know her on a more human level, and not just the attorney, Martha. So first question is, what is something you think everyone should do at least once in their lives?
Oh man, once in their life? Can it be something I haven't done that I'm trying to get the courage to do? Yes. I think it would be like skydiving. I feel like that is so cool. But I just think, I don't know if I'd be able to be up on that plane and jump out. I think somebody would have to push me or something. So I think everybody should do it. I thought about, maybe starting in baby steps because I've never ziplined either. And so I'm like, maybe like ziplining will be kind of similar, but maybe not. So I think skydiving, although I haven't done it.
That is super cool. It's funny because one of the questions that I've asked before is like, what is one thing that you did once but you would never do again? And most people will answer skydiving if they've done it. But yeah, ziplining is definitely a great way to start. I've done ziplining before. It's one of my favorite things to do. Well, I used to do it. I don't know that I feel comfortable. I haven't done it like in 7 years, but yeah, skydiving is thrilling, and you have it on your bucket list. That's awesome. So, what's the best thing that happened to you last week?
Last week, let's see. The best thing that happened to me last week is I got to spend time with my grandson. So I have a brand new grandbaby. He's 4 months old, and so I was able to spend some time with him. Yeah. It was nice. We went to the beach and we had fun, and so I'd say that's the best thing in a personal level, not professional, that I was able to do last week.
That is awesome. And it's a blessing for him that he has a young, beautiful grandmother.
Yeah. Thank you. I try to take every Wednesday afternoon. I take off and I work remote, and I go and pick him up for my daughter, and I spend the afternoon with him. So I try to be, around him as much as possible.
With him. That's awesome. What a blessing. So what's the best way for you to start the day?
With a cup of coffee. Obviously, I'm able to set my own schedule. So I get up, I start the day, I try to go for a walk with my little new puppy. And then a year ago, we became empty nesters, right? So now it's like me and the puppy. So I get up with the puppy and I take her for a walk and then have my cup of coffee and then get to the office. I try to get to the office about 10. And then I start digging through my emails. So that's my best way, is to get up with a little bit of an energy boost with walking with a crazy dog next to me.
Aw, what breed?
She's a Cavapoo. She has so much energy, though. It's just insane. My daughter has a Cavapoo, and she's also very hyper. But this one, and it's just like, oh my gosh! I went from having no kids to now I have like this little dog that has more energy than a toddler.
That's awesome. What's her name?
Her name is Pepper, because she's black and white, and so my husband wanted to name her Pepper.
That is awesome. So we have a mini poodle at home. She's 4 years old, and she's a perfect balance of energetic and calm. And as she gets older, she's going to turn 4 in October. As she gets older, we know she's going to continue that calm trend. But they're awesome companions.
That's what I've been told. They're like, she's just a puppy. She's just 4 months old. So she's going to be energetic. But as she gets older, she gets better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, today I was doing squats. And she was just like jumping in my face. And I'm like, I cannot do this with you. I can't. So
she was doing squats with you. Burpees,
yeah,
more like burpees.
My face. Burpees, exactly. So
awesome.
Yeah, hopefully she'll get calmer with time.
What are you absolutely determined to do?
Absolutely determined to travel as much as I can. I think life isn't worth living without some traveling and exploring some new places. I think work is important. I love my career. I love helping people. I do what I do. I'm not money motivated. I know a lot of attorneys are like, I need to make more money and, whatever. I think money is important. I don't think it's the end all be all, at least not for me. I think helping people is important. And then using the money that I make to be able to travel, explore, see the world. And, can't take money with you when you pass. So it's all about the memories for me.
One quote that comes to mind when you said that I've learned from my company is, money is as good as the good that it can do. So I totally resonate with that. And last question, but not least, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
You can do it. It doesn't matter. Like, your age, your situation. If you set your mind to something, you can do it. I've experienced that in my own life. If you follow me on social media, you'll see I post, stuff about my personal stuff. I mean, I had my daughters very young. I had my oldest daughter when I was 17, and somebody in my school told me I couldn't do it. And then, you know, somebody else was like, you can do it. And ultimately I listened to what that person said, and I got to where I am today because of that mentality of, it doesn't matter, you know, what people say, what people think. If you set your mind to something, you can do it. And I strongly believe that you can do whatever you set your mind to at any age. It doesn't matter, young or old. So I think that's the best piece of advice that I've received, and that I give people all the time. It doesn't matter. You can definitely get it done.
That is awesome. I love it. And that's a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much, Martha, for joining us and for sharing your expertise and your personal background with us. We appreciate that. How can our followers reach you?
So they can reach me either through social media, Martha Mendez _ESQ on Instagram, or my office number is 786-636-8938. And I'd be happy to hear from them.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for being here, for your time. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Nordis.